The same Carney-Trudeau crew. That's what I said. It's still the same party. Like, you just change the face, but the ideas, the ideals, the agendas, and everything behind them is still liberals. And you know why? Because they're not able to do anything without liberals. Liberals would not elect him if they couldn't control him, if he didn't follow these agendas. So nothing's gonna change. He might be a little bit better than Trudeau, but that's it, because it's still a liberal party. And yeah, let's see what Pierre has to say about it.
Canada first, to take back control of our economy and become a sovereign, self-reliant, and stronger nation, to stare down American economic aggression and better stand on our own 2 feet, to bring home Canada's promise that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful home on a safe street, protected by solid borders and brave troops under a proud flag. That's our mission.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. And that's why you all should vote for him. Whoever can, just vote for him. Because how many of you right now work really hard and yet you're still in stress that you won't be able to pay off all your bills? Your monthly bills, your mortgage, your electricity or utility bills, your phone plans, Wi-Fi at home, all of it, right? Car payments, insurance. Like, how many of you work really hard and yet you're still really stressed that you won't have enough? Is it how it's supposed to be? No, it's ridiculous. If you work hard, you should be okay. No one said it's going to be easy. But if you work hard, you should benefit from that and not other way around, right? Like, I have a good job. I work hard and I still stress. I have a better job than what I had in 2020. And somehow the situation's worse. I worked hard in 2020. Now I have higher salary, but everything's more expensive. So still, I'm under the stress. So yeah, Canada first. It should be sovereign country. You should not rely on anyone because you have everything within your country. And again, I understand that most of it's like private companies, like drilling, right? Lumber businesses, all of it. It's private companies. But who's above the private companies? Who can do something about it? Government. They can literally say, oh, if you want to send it out of the country, there's going to be some fee. If you're refusing to make it cheaper for Canadians, I know it sounds crazy, it sounds like utopia, it sounds like I'm crazy naive, but like, if you want to make profit out of it, Canada needs to have something out of it as well. And then maybe, since you're making money out of, well, obviously it's called tax, right? Like, I'm not that naive. Obviously, you tax all of these companies and their profit. But what do you do with the tax money? Because you're collecting tax money from us on income tax, property taxes, so much stuff that literally at least around 50% of our paycheck just goes to the government. 30% you can see on the pay stub that goes straight away. 20% is everything else you pay around that you don't actually realize. So yeah, like someone needs to change this.
But today I'd like to begin by congratulating, I should begin by wishing Mr. Trudeau a happy retirement and all the best to his family, and congratulating Mr. Trudeau's economic advisor, Mark Carney, on becoming Prime Minister only 3 months after he moved his headquarters out of Canada to New York.
Here we go.
Moving jobs away from Canada.
Yeah, you know why he did that? Tariffs. So who's not for Canada? Who doesn't think about Canada first? Maybe it's the guy who moved the headquarters of his company to US just to avoid the tariffs and pretty much took away solid chunk of money from Canada thanks to that. You know, money on taxes, obviously.
Today, Liberals are trying to trick Canadians into electing them for a fourth term.
Why would you do it?
Power with a cabinet that is 87% the same as Trudeau's cabinet.
Yeah.
100% of today's Liberal cabinet were in Justin Trudeau's Liberal caucus. These same Liberal MPs voted to hike the carbon tax, double the debt, double food bank lineups, and double housing costs. The same Liberals all supported blocking pipelines, LNG plants, and passing the anti-energy law C-69 that has made Canada even more reliant on the U.S.
Ridiculous. Let's not forget about the freedom of speech, and anyone who's going to fight with me about, oh, Liberals, freedom of speech, we have freedom of speech. Do you remember COVID? Do you remember that? Who was in power? Liberals. Do you remember how many times you got in shit on Facebook, YouTube, and whatever, even outside when you were talking about COVID? Just talking. It's ridiculous. So yeah, like freedom of speech, it's not great under the Liberals. Let's be honest.
Stephen Guilbeault, for example, the radical anti-development activist, twice arrested for climbing buildings illegally to block resource projects, a self-described, and I quote, socialist, has been promoted to be the minister responsible for all of Quebec, but also responsible, according to Mr. Carney, for nature. That means nothing will get built anywhere in Canada because he will be standing in the way. Meanwhile, all of Trudeau's Liberal advisors, Gerald Butts and Tom Pitfield, are now top Carney advisors. They were in attendance today, not even hiding that they're still the ones running the show. The same people who ran Justin Trudeau are now running Mark Carney.
So you still think something's gonna change? Like I said, it's just a different face, but still the same political party. Like, you're not electing king. We're not living in the medieval age when the king has unlimited power. No, you elected prime minister who's a representative of Liberal Party. Of course he's gonna follow the agenda of Liberals. What are we talking about? Just use your brain.
Carney's chief of staff, his Liberal chief of staff, is a former Trudeau minister forced to resign for many scandals, including lying about moving Paul Bernardo out of a maximum security prison. You see, Mark Carney thinks Canadians are stupid. He thinks that a little bit of cosmetic surgery will allow the Liberals to disguise who they are and make people forget what they did for 10 years in order to elect them to a fourth Liberal term. But it's the same Liberal gang with the same Liberal agenda, the same Liberal results, and the same Liberal promises of the last 10 years. Only they want you to be fooled, and they want to take 4 terms.
I mean, to be honest, you elected them for this purpose, right? You elected them for this agenda. So that's kind of sounds ridiculous, but it kind of shows integrity. Like you elected them to do the shitty job, so they're just gonna continue doing shitty job. Like you don't want us to care about Canadians, so you want us to run the country down. Okay, well, we'll continue doing it. Like, it's ridiculous.
Carbon tax Carney will try later today to pull another fast one. This one's going to be very sneaky, very sneaky. I call it the carbon tax con job. I told you this was going to happen, by the way. Don't say I didn't warn you. He's going to hide the consumer carbon tax for 60 days. And if he's reelected, he'll bring it back bigger than ever with no rebate. Let's be clear. He says that the carbon tax he intends to bring in after the election will be a, quote, shadow carbon tax. And we know that he loves carbon taxes because he publicly advised Trudeau over the last 5 years to raise the taxes even more. But here's what I've got. This is...
Like, the carbon tax is just the most ridiculous thing. Like, what is it for? How does it help environment? Like, if you show me that all of the money from carbon taxes are going towards creating like green energy, towards lowering the prices for electric cars, stuff like this, where it actually goes towards helping environment in some sense, right? Then sure. But I never heard about that. All I hear is about carbon tax, you need to pay it. That's it. You need to pay it because you're using energy source that produces carbon. It's like, well, what else can I use, right? Electricity, yeah, I'm using it in some rooms in my house, but...
is the liberal carbon tax law. This law cannot be eliminated unless Parliament resumes to vote it down. Mr. Carney could have asked Trudeau to do that months ago. Mr. Carney could have reconvened Parliament today to vote this law down, but he won't. He will keep the carbon tax law in place even while he temporarily hides the carbon tax from the gas pump for 60 days leading up to the election. And after that election, if God forbid he were reelected, there would be a bigger carbon tax than ever before, because Carney would no longer need your vote, but he'd still need your money.
Yeah.
Canadians know that over 10 years, the Trudeau-Carney Liberals doubled the debt, doubled housing costs, and doubled food bank lineups. They've made us weak facing the Americans. Giving the Liberals a fourth term will not...
There we go. Weak facing the Americans. And that's what's the issue. And what is he? Premier? Pierre Poilievre understands it. It's not about tariffs coming from from US. Obviously, it's not ideal. But the biggest issue is that we were weak prior to tariffs. And that wasn't thanks to President Trump. That wasn't thanks to US. It was thanks to liberals, thanks to Justin Trudeau, and thanks to his cabinet. And now you just swapped Justin Trudeau, moved him away, but brought someone who was his advisor, who obviously had to advise him to do this, and you bring him in as a new face. But same people. What do you expect? And to be fair, with the carbon tax, if he's gonna hide it and then bring it back, let's be honest, it's a smart move on his part. It's not good for Canadians or people living in Canada. It's not good, it's not honest, it's nothing but businesslike. And given that he's politician, would you expect anything else? And yeah, like he does whatever he can to win the elections, and then it's free game, right? It's a smart move. It's a bad move though for us. Like I don't agree with it, but let's admit that he knows what he's doing.
Afford food or home after 3 terms of Liberals. Nothing will change after 4.
Yeah.
If you're worried Canada's drowning in debt and taxes after 3 terms of these Liberals, that will not change after a 4th term.
Yeah.
If you're afraid of crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder after 3 terms of these Liberals, nothing will change after the 4th term. If you are a senior choosing between heating and eating after 3 terms of Liberals, nothing will change after a 4th term.
Again, it's definition of insanity. You're doing the same thing all over again, expecting different result.
And if you're worried that Canada can't get anything built, and that our economy has become helpless and dependent on the Americans after 3 terms of the Liberals, that will not change after a 4th term. And it certainly will not change with a heavily conflicted Prime Minister who already sold out Canada to move his headquarters to the U.S. only days after President Trump threatened tariffs to steal our jobs. Carney put himself first. Conservatives will put Canada first. Putting Canada first means taking back control of our economy and relaunching our industries. It means confronting President Trump to his face, hitting back with counter tariffs, but it also means making Canada stronger at home. It'll mean bringing in a massive, beautiful, patriotic, bring-it-home tax cut on work, investment, energy, home building, and making stuff in Canada.
Here we go. Like, you can complain about President Trump how much you want, but he had a good idea to bring the companies back to US, right? You can say that Pierre Poilievre is just copying what Trump did. But why wouldn't you if it works? And it's obviously for the good. Like, you want to create the jobs, you want to manufacture the stuff in Canada, you want to make it cheaper for people to buy stuff, right? And that's the long goal. Like, short-term goal might be, yeah, it's gonna be harder, it might get more expensive because of the tariffs and everything, but you're looking at the long-term goal. Like, look, do you want to be able to keep your house for a year or for 10 years? Until you decide to sell it and buy a new one, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like this guy is the way. Like, the Conservatives are the best options Canada have right now.
Tax cut that will allow you to get ahead through your own hard work with lower income tax. We will cut bureaucracy, debt, and taxes. We'll take GST off homes so that you can save up to 50 grand, while we incentivize municipalities to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development charges. We'll axe the carbon tax forever, for good, and for real.
Exactly. Like, we're paying so much money on the taxes. Why do we need to pay specifically carbon tax without knowing where the money is going? Like, who gets the money? Who gets the money? Where does the money go? Does it go outside of Canada to some other country? Who knows, right?
They'll also repeal liberal laws like the No New Pipelines Act, C-69, and instead grant rapid permission to our companies to build more pipelines, more natural gas exports, more data centers, mines, and other natural resources to bring home powerful paychecks and production to our people.
Yeah.
We will carry out the biggest crackdown on crime and drugs in Canadian history. Our borders will be secured, and our military will be strong. We will be self-reliant, sovereign, and stand on our own 2 feet.
Sorry, just reading the comment. If you swap the group titles over the descriptions, so the values of Conservatives fall under Liberals. Liberals would vote Conservative. I'm not sure I follow this, to be fair. I don't know what you mean. Oh, the values, yeah. Like, no, for sure. I talked about it a while ago, because for me, coming from Europe, after we got rid of Russia, because obviously they occupied my country, right? We were all over like Democratic Party because we thought like democracy and whatever, and they did everything towards that. It wasn't nowadays liberals, it was just Democrats. Like, let's try to make country strong, let's vote about everything, all of this, right? Like, it wasn't let's be free, let's do all the craziest things we can. So it's still hard for me to understand that liberals are same thing like Democrats, and it's just ridiculous. So yeah, like I agree with you that liberals would vote Conservatives, like the true liberals, right? Like, you're supposed to vote for the country. Yeah, it's like they literally made a liberal kind of a dirty word. I'm not gonna lie.
As we stand up to the Americans. To stand up for ourselves, we will reward work, unleash entrepreneurs, harvest resources, make our own goods, trade with each other, build homes for our youth, rebuild our borders and military, honor our history, and raise our flag to restore Canada's promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful home, on a safe street, protected by solid borders and brave troops under a proud Canadian flag. Canada first. Let's bring it home.
Thank you. We will now take questions on the floor.
That was beautiful. Not gonna lie. It was good speech, but it was also beautiful. Like, that's a Canadian dream, right? Like I said, like hard work. Obviously, it's not supposed to be easy, but if you work hard, you should have a good life. You shouldn't have a good job, work hard, and still stress about paying your bills. Like you need to enjoy your life. And like I said, since 2020, I got much better job than what I had back then. And somehow my stress levels because of finances and everything got much worse. And that's thanks to liberals. I'm not gonna lie. It's thanks to the carbon tax. When did the carbon tax started? Let me see. Oh, let's pause it quickly. Carbon tax in Canada. When did they started with it? So it started in 2019. It was raised in 2022. See, who was in power? Obviously, liberals. And what you don't realize is carbon tax, it's not just your heating bill. It's also gas. And if the gas price is higher, the products and produce is going to be more expensive because out of nowhere it costs more to transport it from point A to B, right? So it affects everything. Okay, especially if you budget and still, and yeah, the king of the village is only getting richer. Yeah. The rich people will get richer and poor people, or, well, yeah, now it's poor people. Like there's no middle class. Let's be honest about it. Right now it's between rich and poor. Like all the middle class was just annihilated, just pushed down into the poor section. And doesn't matter if you work hard or no. So yeah, don't vote them for the fourth time. I mean, if you vote them, it's probably gonna be less people in Canada thanks to that.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre, Alexa Lavoie for Ribbon News. If you can answer the question in French and in English. So my question is about the Liberal contest. The Liberals say that nearly 400,000 people registered to vote in their leadership contest, but only 150,000 of those were verified, and they have not explained why nearly 250,000 voters were disqualified or otherwise didn't vote. And the writing by writing results are remarkable. Karina Gould only got 190 votes in her own district, and Chrystia Freeland only received 188. How concerned are you about the integrity of Carney's mandate?
First of all, Mr. Carney has no mandate. He has not been elected
Exactly.
by the Canadian people. He's been installed by the Liberal establishment and Justin Trudeau's insiders.
Yeah.
Prevented people from debating him. They've been hiding from the media because every time he answers questions, he gets caught in lies or says incredibly idiotic things.
I love him.
As for the Liberal leadership result, those numbers are either just pathetically low because Canadians did not want to vote for a weak, conflicted Mark Carney who had sold out the country by moving jobs and money out of Canada.
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah, obviously, like if you don't see it, he moved the headquarters of the company from Toronto to New York. He took the jobs, he took the tax money from Canada, moved it all to New York just to avoid the tariffs. Like, that's against Canada.
They show something more suspicious. But unfortunately, I don't have all the details. All I can say is that is a very small number of people that voted in the Liberal leadership race, much smaller than in ours. We excited people because people thought this is a chance to bring home the Canada that we knew and still love, where you can work hard and have a great life, where you can afford a home, and where seniors can put food on their tables, where our streets are safe. That's one of the reasons why I was blessed to receive the biggest number of votes of any leadership candidate in Canadian history. that I'm aware of. Thank you.
En français.
Merci beaucoup. C'est clair que M. Carney n'a pas
Ooh, I
demandé
wish we can
d'être
just skip this part.
par l'établissement.
But yeah, like, why should he be concerned about who voted him in the leadership of the Liberal Party? It wasn't people, it wasn't citizens. Obviously, it was people, but not the citizens. It wasn't full-on election, right? It was just within the party. So it's still between conservatives and liberals. It's not like liberals got some edge over conservatives.
Avec très peu de votes, montre ou bien que les Canadiens n'en ont pas été inspirés pour voter pour quelqu'un qui avait vendu le Canada et déménagé les emplois hors de notre pays, ou bien il y a des problèmes dans le système qu'il faut scruter. Peu importe, je suis très heureux qu'on a eu un beaucoup plus grand résultat quand je me suis présenté pour le chef du Parti conservateur parce que les gens ont été inspirés de mon approche de mettre le Canada d'abord pour relancer notre économie et reprendre le contrôle, pour mettre le Canada d'abord et pour établir la promesse du Canada que si les gens travaillent fort, ils devraient pouvoir acheter une belle maison dans une belle communauté protégée par nos soldats sous notre fier drapeau. Merci.
Ooh. Is he done?
Prochaine
Nice.
question.
English, please.
Bonjour,
Next
M.
one,
Poilievre,
English.
Maxime Ruard, Radio-Canada.
Bonjour, merci.
Et si vous pouviez répondre en français et en anglais, ça serait
Ah.
bien.
Absolument.
Mark Carney a dit un peu plus tôt aujourd'hui qu'il comptait abolir la taxe carbone, et ce, dès aujourd'hui. Est-ce que ça vient couper l'herbe sous le pied, ça, des conservateurs?
Maybe I'll
Non, il ne va pas
turn
pouvoir
on subtitles,
abolir aujourd'hui
I guess.
parce que la loi qui crée la taxe est toujours en place.
Do you have subtitles or no?
S'il veut l'abolir,
English,
il doit
yeah.
appeler le Parlement pour tenir un vote afin de
Okay.
supprimer.
Doesn't
cette
work
loi.
on French.
Mais il ne va pas le faire. Ce qu'il va faire, c'est de
Not my
cacher
fault.
la taxe carbone pendant 60
He's gonna
jours
say it in English for sure.
pour essayer de tromper les Canadiens en les faisant oublier la taxe juste avant des élections.
He's talking about cutting the taxes for election and then after election
et sans
restoring it.
rabais. Donc,
That's my
c'est un
guess.
tour de passe-passe. M. Carney n'avait qu'une seule critique de la taxe carbone pendant les années Trudeau, que c'était trop bas. Qui croit maintenant qu'il a changé d'idée? Qui croit que tous les ministres dans son cabinet...
Okay, I'm gonna translate. I feel confident now. So he's talking about how Carney was lobbying for a carbon tax, that he actually agrees with it. He wants to make it higher. He was Trudeau's advisor. And
d'avoir peur de cette nouvelle
yeah,
taxe que M. Carney propose.
that's about it.
Parce qu'il a spécifié que ça va aller au-delà la bourse carbone qui existe déjà au Québec. Ça va détruire l'économie québécoise et canadienne et ça va favoriser Donald Trump parce que tous les emplois vont quitter notre pays pour aller aux États-Unis quand si M. Carney était en mesure d'être réélu et imposer une nouvelle taxe. Seulement les conservateurs vont couper les taxes et impôts, y compris l'élimination de la taxe carbone. Thank you very much for the question. The question in French was about whether I think that Mark Carney will abolish the carbon tax. Well, the truth is he can't do that without recalling Parliament. This is the carbon tax law. It's in place today. Until Parliament is recalled, this carbon tax law will be the law of the land. What he might do is hide the carbon tax by telling CRA to stop collecting it for 2 months before the election. So let me ask you if you think this is a believable proposition. 100% of his ministers voted dozens of times not just to impose the carbon tax, but to raise it. Mr. Carney, his only public criticism of the Liberal carbon tax was that it was not high enough. They've had this tax now for over 7 years. The law that they still have in place would quadruple it to 61 cents a liter. And you believe that they're not going to bring it back 2 days after the election? Well, I think Mr. Carney has some land he might sell you in Florida, some swampland he might sell you in
Yeah.
Florida if you believe that whopper. The reality is that Mr. Carney loves carbon taxes, and if you elect him, you will pay a brutal price. And he has also said he will be bringing in a shadow carbon tax targeting Canadian industry, and he has specifically singled out steel. There will be tens of thousands of steel, aluminum, cement, and other industrial jobs lost under Carney's carbon tax. The combination of Trump tariffs and Carney's carbon tax will destroy our industrial sector and make us hopelessly dependent on the Americans, all while profiting Mark Carney's personal investments in other countries, investments that he still knows he has, investments that, like the carbon tax, he just wants to hide. The good news is that common sense conservatives will axe the tax for real, for everyone, for good. We will make sure it never comes back. There is only one way to axe this tax, and it is to vote for the Canada First Conservatives.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't understand how anyone can expect Carney to just get rid of the carbon tax when, again, he's liberal. He's representing Liberal Party. They voted in for him. You really think one person's going to change it out of nowhere? You really think the ideology or the agenda of liberals just completely swapped with Mark Carney? No, the party stayed same. They just changed the face.
Next question. Prochaine question.
It's like rebranding, but the same same ideas.
If elected Prime Minister, do you still intend to fire the Governor of the Bank of Canada?
My view is that if waitresses, barbers, mechanics, or other people don't do their jobs, they get fired.
Yeah.
You know, Mark Carney should have been fired when he was the head of the Bank of England, and he acted as, in the words of the London Telegraph, as an unreliable boyfriend, changing his mind constantly, printing too much money, which led to inflation. But he doesn't think that people like him should ever get fired. They should just get...
Yeah, this is so weird to me. Like, somehow, if you're a politician and you do shitty job, you keep your job. But if you're outside of the politics, you do a bad job, guess what happens? You're done. Fired. And that's how it's supposed to be, right? The politicians are not above this. Like, they were elected to serve the people, and if they don't serve the people, bye-bye. Done.
Get promoted after they raise people's costs and ruin people's lives. I disagree. I believe that government officials should be accountable for their decisions.
Yeah.
When they fail, government officials should be fired. That is how the life works in the real world, and that is how life will work when I am Prime Minister of Canada.
And let's not forget, like, if these people fail, it's going to affect millions of people. It's different than when barber messes up your haircut, right? So how is it that a barber will get fired, but government official will keep his job, possibly get the promotion? Even if he doesn't get a promotion, guess what happens at the end of the year? Benefits. He's gonna get, how is it called? Not a premium. You know, some reward for the whole year, some chunk of money.
En français.
Moi, je crois que les mécaniciens,
Quack language.
et d'autres personnes qui échouent dans leur travail.
Bonus. That's the word I was looking for. At the end of the year, he's gonna get bonus even though he fucked up during the year and cost so many people a certain amount of money, right? Why?
Les journaux l'ont décrit comme pas fiable. Ils l'ont critiqué pour avoir imprimé de l'argent et avoir causé de l'inflation.
I wish there was a button, skip the French.
Comme les journaux le rapportent, évidemment, les médias ici au Canada essaient de cacher son bilan désastreux en Angleterre, mais il croit qu'il ne devrait jamais être imputable. Il croit pouvoir détruire des emplois et augmenter les coûts pour la classe ouvrière tout en recevant des promotions. Je ne suis pas d'accord avec M. Carney là-dessus. Moi, je pense que les officiers du gouvernement qui font des erreurs, qui ne font pas leur travail ou qui agissent contre leur mandat devraient être congédiés. C'est ça la réalité dans le vrai monde. Et ça va être la réalité quand je serai le Premier ministre du Canada. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Prochaine question.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre, Colton Prale with CTV. Again, French and English if you could. A month ago, your party was up 20 points in the polls. Now you're statistically tied. What does that say about your leadership?
Well, I think that the choice that Canadians will face is whether they want to give the Liberals a fourth term after they doubled housing costs, doubled food prices, doubled the national debt, and made our economy weak and reliant on the Americans. Whether they want to elect somebody who sold out the country to ship jobs to New York and out of our country, and who has brutal conflicts of interest that will have him working against Canada in the future. Or whether they want Canada First
fresh air, man,
who will axe taxes, build homes, fix the budget, and most importantly of all, unleash our economic independence by building pipelines, mines, LNG plants, and other economic infrastructure that will allow us to sell to ourselves and the rest of the world. That is the choice. More of the same with a fourth Liberal term, or Canada First change for the Canadian people. Merci beaucoup pour la question.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's very simple to me. Do you want to live the same way like you're living now? Well, actually, it's gonna get worse, right? With President Trump and his tariffs, it's not gonna get better under Liberals. The only chance we have is vote for a change. Vote Canada first. That's how it's supposed to be. Like, and I bet there's gonna be a lot of comments about Nazis and everything like that again, right? Because it seems lately, if you're voting for if you care about your citizens, about your country, somehow you're branded Nazi. But no, that's how it's supposed to be. Like, you're voting for Canadian politicians, so the Canadian politicians should care about Canada first, not about outside politics, not about international politics. First, Canada. Once the situation's good over here, then you can help all over the world. No one's against it. But the Canada should be first. Like, the Canadians' money, taxpayers' money, should stay in Canada, should improve the life in Canada. Once the life is on the level you want it to be, then you can try to help some other country. Or even better, vote if the citizens are willing to help another country. Because yeah, it's a taxpayer's money. Don't commit treason to taking their money and send it somewhere else where it doesn't help them at all, right? Like, I'm not paying money for some, like, USAID, right? What was it? Condoms in Afghanistan. Like, why? Why are taxpayers' money go for condoms in Afghanistan? Even though it was just 15 million, still, it's taxpayers' money. It's not supposed to go there. And I'm not that naive to think that Canadians or Canada's government is not doing the same thing USAID did. And that's why we need change. That's why we need Mr. Poilievre to clean this shit up the same way like President Trump, Elon Musk, and JD Vance are doing in the US. And don't get me wrong, people will be talking about how Poilievre is next President Trump. What's bad about it? He's not gonna go hand in hand with President Trump. Obviously, he's gonna put Canada first, but there's nothing wrong about what President Trump is doing. The only wrong thing is, or why people think it's wrong, is Because, okay, the relationship between US and Canada is suffering right now. But you know who's not suffering? You know who's gonna do better thanks to what President Trump is doing? US. And who President Trump represents? US. So just let it sink in, right? That's why we need someone like President Trump or someone like Mr. Poilievre. I'm not saying they're same, but they're definitely both thinking their country first, and that's how it should be. And I guess now we're gonna have it in French again.
La décision pour les Canadiens dans les prochaines élections, c'est
Let's try to skip it.
Et devenir
conservative. Praise the new Poilievre, Sarah McFarlane with iPolitics, and in French and English, if you don't mind. This week, Canadians heard Ontario Premier Doug Ford, a conservative, praise the new Prime Minister Mark Carney, saying that he can, quote, smooth things with Trump and has an astute business mind that will appeal to the president. How would you convince voters otherwise?
By reminding them that the choice is, do you want to elect Liberals to a fourth term after they doubled the debt, doubled housing costs, doubled food bank lineups, doubled gun crime, and weakened our economy, making it more dependent on the United States?
Again, he said it for the fourth time. I'm gonna say it for the fourth time. You're still voting for the same party. It's still same group of the people. You just changed the face. You just rebranded it. But it's not gonna make a huge difference.
Or do they want to vote for common sense, Canada First conservatives who will axe taxes, build homes, fix the budget, stop the crime, and unleash production and paychecks so that we can declare our full economic independence from the Americans? That is the choice that Canadians will face.
En français.
En rappelant aux Canadiens.
Okay, that's about it. The rest will be in French. Honestly, I like this one. I like the speech he has. To me, it gives me a hope. And I just hope there's more, I'm going to say more Canadians, even though I'm not Canadian. But I really hope there's more Canadians who sees it, who thinks logically, and who will vote for conservatives, because we need a change. We can't go another 4 years the same way we went before. And it's going to go even more downhill with President Trump's imposing tariffs and everything. And we don't have any reaction to it. Our only reaction is, okay, we're going to give you our own tariffs. And guess who's caught in the middle? US citizens, Canadian citizens. I understand that the long goal is that for Americans, for US citizens, a long goal is that it's going to do better for them. But do liberals have a long goal in mind for us? Because so far everything they did was just run the country to the ground. Like we're energy dependent on the US, right? Liberals had 9 years to change it, but they changed it so we're even more dependent on them. So how do you expect it to change out of nowhere with the same political party that was in power for the last 9 years? It's not going to change. Vote for change. Vote for conservatives. Vote Canada first. Like, I don't know. Obviously, by now I'm biased. And the reason why I'm biased is because I want what's best for my family. I want what's best for Canada. I want change. I don't want to see all of this just go to hell the same way. Like the quality of life went so downhill since 2019, since I moved in here, right? You can literally feel it every time you go grocery shopping, every time you need to pay some bill, every time you receive your salary, you know it might not be enough. Do you really want to live in this fear for the next 4 years? And with liberals, you can't even hope for anything better. Did you hear something coming from the liberals, how they're gonna change all of it? You did not. Even the customer service shows. Yeah, the customer service went downhill as well. I feel like Canada's just losing their identity in general. And I blame Liberals. I said it in some videos before. I feel like the immigration laws to Canada, which is funny for me talking about it, but the immigration laws are kind of weird. Like you should take an example from US, because it feels like US is still able to keep their values, to keep their culture and everything, while having a lot of immigrants coming into US. I'm not against immigration. I don't think there's anything bad about immigration. But what I feel like is that the Liberals didn't find a way how to integrate these immigrants into Canada, pretty much. Like, what Liberals did is that they tried to change Canada to be more reflecting the immigrants of Canada. So they just agreed with Canada losing its own values, culture, and everything. And that's why you need conservatives. Like, you need them to restore Canada, restore all of that I was talking about, values, culture, just being proud when you see the flag, just even like the stupid things like be more grateful than complaining about everything. And like, is there something good that you can really say that you're grateful that Liberals did in the last 2-3 years? I can't think about a single thing.